Hello YouTube, this is Simulacrum and today we will be working on building a game of chess with React, TypeScript and React. So firstly, you're going to need to install a few things on your system. So you'll need to install Node.js, which you can do by following the instructions on their website, like so. And then you will need to make sure that you have Git installed. So if you haven't done so, you can go to git-scm.com/downloads and install it for your operating system. Finally, you're going to need a code editor like VS Code or Cursor or Windsurf. So I'm going to be using VS Code, but you can use whichever one you want to. We have now opened the Bash terminal in Ubuntu Linux. If you're on Windows, you might want to use a terminal like Git Bash or the default terminal if you are on a Mac. So firstly, what we're going to want to do is use React to scaffold a new project. So to do that, we're going to type npm create React at latest. So that's going to install create React. We're going to call our project chess game, and we're going to use React for our front-end framework, and we'll be going with TypeScript. So now we cd into the chess game directory. So cd stands for change directory, and now we run npm install. So that's going to install all of the Node.js dependencies for our project. This could take a while. Okay, so the installation is complete. Now we can type npm run dev. So that will start the development server. And now in our browser, we can go to localhost 5173, and that will show us the default UI for the boilerplate, for the React application, the thing that comes built in. So now we can start building our application. So first, let's open the code base in VS Code. So to do that, we type code dot. I assume you've installed VS Code already. If you haven't, you're going to want to do that before you start the project. So now we have the src directory. We're going to want to open that and take a look at app.tsx. This is where we're going to start building our project. We're going to want to initialize a Git repository in our project. So to do that, we can open a terminal directly in VS Code. So go to the terminal selection here and click on new terminal. Now in the chess game directory, type in git init. So that's going to initialize a Git repository, and you can see the git ignore. So the Git repo has been successfully created, and you can look at the state of the repo by typing git status. So as you can see, none of the files have been committed yet. So we're going to want to commit our project incrementally with each small change. So to do that, first we add all the files to our staging area. So that the command to do that would be git add dot. Okay. So now we've added all the files to the staging area, and we can check the status with git status. So all of them have been added to the staging area, and they can be committed. Okay, so now that we've added the code, we can commit that to our repo. The command to do that is git commit -m, and we will call it initial commit. Okay, so now the code has been committed. Now we are going to want to create the chessboard. So I've prepared the code for that. And to do that, we are going to use this code in app.tsx. And this will create a chessboard. So you can see that it has 8 rows and 8 columns. And we are styling these cells as light or dark as appropriate. So we're going to save that, and in app.css, so this is the built-in styles, we are going to update that with the styles for our chessboard. And here we go. So this will style the chessboard, and you can pause the video and look at the code and type that in if you want to, or the final code will also be made available in the GitHub repo for this channel. Now if we type in npm run dev in our terminal, we should be able to see the chessboard in our browser at localhost 5173, which is the default port for Wheat. Now we're going to want to commit the code that we just added. So first we will stop the server, and then we will commit the code like we did for the initial commit. So git status to see what the changes are. So if you want to look at what specifically changed in the files, you're going to want to run git diff src app.tsx, for example, and that will show you what lines have been removed and what lines have been added to the code. So to get out of this, you can type q. Okay, so yeah, our git status shows us that 2 files have been modified, and let's go ahead and add them. Now we commit the change with an appropriate message. So git commit -m add chessboard UI. Now we are going to want to move the chessboard out of app.tsx and into a separate component. So to do that, inside of src, we will create a new directory called components, and inside this directory we will create a new file called chessboard.tsx. Okay, and now we will move the chessboard code into the new component. Okay, and we will also update app.tsx to just use the new chessboard component that we just created. So this is just a bit of refactoring. There's no new code being written here, and we will also want to commit this change. Okay, so git add and git commit move chessboard to separate component. Now we will want to add pieces to the chessboard. So to do that, we will use Unicode characters, and that will look like this. So we're using Unicode characters for the chess pieces, and we are initializing the board with the initial board const, which is a two-dimensional array, and the piece is stored in another const and is indexed by the row and column index, and it is displayed inside of a span within a square. So that should show the pieces on the chessboard. Now if we run npm run dev and start the dev server, we should be able to see the chess pieces on the chessboard. So that's working well. It looks good, but it could be enhanced a bit more. So we will stop the server and we will commit the change. So git commit -m add pieces to chessboard. So yeah, there we go. We are using filled Unicode characters for black and empty Unicode characters for white, but that's not going to look good. So let's fix that. So we stop the server and we will be using filled Unicode characters for both white and for black. So that will look like this. Also, notice that the color of the piece is being determined based on row number, but this is obviously not the way to do this, but it's good enough for now since this is just the initial configuration. And we will also want to style the the pieces appropriately to have the right color. So we've given black for the black pieces and white for the white pieces. So now it should look much better. So we start the server with npm run dev and we reload, and the board looks much better now. The pieces are all colored appropriately, and yeah, everything looks good. So let's commit the change. So before we do that, we should open a new terminal and let's run git status. The two files that have been changed are being shown here, and then git add dot, now adds both files, and git commit -m style color the pieces appropriately in CSS. Or rather, this should do it. Okay, so we commit. Right now, we are tracking whether a piece is black or white based on what row of the board the piece is in. This isn't ideal. This isn't going to work as the game progresses. So we're going to want to change this. So what we've changed is that we've added a chess piece type which has the symbol, which is a Unicode character, and a color for the piece, whether it's white or black. And we initialize the board as a 2D array of type chess piece. So now the color is encoded into the piece itself. So we are going to now use this logic, and we're going to commit this change. So git status git add dot git commit -m add color add what property was that? Color, add color to chess piece. This sounds about right. Okay, let's commit. Now we are going to want to add state management for the chessboard and click handlers for the squares. So the code to do that will look like this. So what we've done is we're importing useState, and we have a state variable for the selected square and the current player, and we have a click handler to handle the clicked square. And we also do some basic validation, and we can right now move a piece to any square on the chessboard, but we're going to change that. So here's some basic state management and click handling. So yeah, there's the on-click handler here. Here we are looking at whether a square is selected or not. So that should do it. And we should also add some CSS for the selected square, and that will look like this. Okay, now if we start the dev server with npm run dev, we should be able to move the pieces on the chessboard. So we can move white, then once we've moved that, we can't move white again because the current player has changed. Now we can move black and so on. Okay, so let's stop the server and commit this change. So git status git add dot git commit -m add click handlers to move pieces. The chessboard right now is a bit too small. We are going to want to make it take up around 90% of the viewport height. So we will make this change in our CSS. So we've set the width and height of the chessboard to be 90 Women, and the max width and height to be 800 pixels. So we are also calculating the font size of the pieces based on the 90 viewport min height. And we've also added some responsive styles. So now let's see how the new chessboard looks. So npm run dev. Now we go to the browser, and yeah, so it looks much better now. So let's commit this change. So git status git add git commit make chessboard bigger and responsive. Okay, yeah, this sounds good. So yeah, let's commit. We want to move the board to the left of the screen. So to do that, we will be adding a display of flex to the root and do justify content center and align items flex start. So that will position the chessboard to the left of the screen, which will look like, oh wait, we need to start the server. So npm run dev. Okay, and now, yeah, this looks good. So we will now stop the server and commit the change. So move chessboard to left of screen. We are going to want to add notation to the chessboard. So to do that, we will be using this. So what we've done is we've defined the row and the column labels, which we are using in the TSX here. First, we have a div for the column labels where we iterate over the labels and display them. And then we have a similar setup for the row labels. And we also style them appropriately. And the CSS to do that is here. So we defined a container for the chessboard and the chessboard and row labels, and over here we define the styles for the column labels, the row labels, and each notation that goes into the row and column element. So yeah, you can pause the video and sort of type in the code if you want to. So this is how it looks like. So now if we start the dev server with npm run dev, we should be able to see the notation. So yeah, the columns and the rows. So it looks good. So let's go back to the code, stop the server and commit the code. So git add and git commit, add notation to chessboard. Okay. We could move some of the CSS inside of app.css to a separate file. So first we will keep only the root and the responsive stylings for the root elements inside of app.css, and we will create a new file inside of components called chessboard.css. And in this file we will include all of the styles for the chessboard. So this includes all of the CSS that was previously inside of app.css. And now we will import the new CSS inside of the chessboard.tsx file. So here, instead of app.css, we are importing from chessboard.css. Now let's commit this change. Okay, there are 3 files, so git add and git commit move chessboard css to chessboard.css. Okay. Now we will create a 2-column layout with the game information to the right of the board. So we've made quite a few changes in our app.tsx. We are setting the mode, that is whether the layout is sort of light or dark. We have a state for that, and we have a 2-column layout. The left column contains the chessboard and the right column contains the game title, the game state, the player turn, the captured pieces, and the move history, along with buttons for offering a draw or resigning. And the CSS for this will look like this. So again, there's quite a bit of CSS. There's the theme toggling, there's the CSS for move history, the game info, the right and left columns, and the variables for the theme and the root element. So that's quite a bit of CSS. Now let's start the dev server and see how that looks on the browser. So npm run dev. Now the dev server is running, and yeah, so this is how it looks. The dark mode is by default, and we can toggle that between light and dark. And the game state, player turn, game status, the captured pieces, the move history, and the actions. Also notice that these are all hard-coded for now, and we are going to want to connect this to the game state as the as we sort of code along. So now let's stop the dev server and commit the changes. So git add and git commit. So add 2-column layout and game info on the right. Okay. We will now move the game info out of app.tsx into a separate component. So let's create a file called gameinfo.tsx and one called gameinfo.css. Okay. Now we will move some code out of app.tsx. So the new app.tsx will be considerably smaller. So, and gameinfo.tsx will look like this. So there's no new code here, it's all basically refactoring. So gameinfo.css will have some of these styles that were originally in app.css, and the new app.css will only contain the styling for the theme, the right and left columns, the root element, and the app container. Okay, so now we can sort of commit this code before moving on. So git add git commit refactor game info into a separate component. We have not implemented move validation for the different pieces, so let's go ahead and do that. So we've opened chessboard.tsx and we will be making a couple of changes here. So first you'll notice that we've added a type property to each chess piece. So a chess piece can either be a pawn, rook, knight, bishop, queen, or king. And these types, this type property of the chess piece is included in the chessboard. So each piece has a type now, and we will use that in the isValidMove function. So here, for each piece, we check what the type is, and we've implemented the appropriate movement logic for the piece. So for example, a pawn moves differently based on whether it's white or black, and we've implemented that. And it can also capture diagonally, and the usual movement is 1 square forward, and if it's in the starting position it can move 2 squares forward. So like that, we've implemented the straight line movement for a rook, the L-shaped movement for knights, diagonal movement for bishops, and the combination of rooks and bishops for the queen. So there's also the 1 square in any direction movement for the king. So this is basically the validation logic for the moves. Also, notice that we haven't implemented special rules like en passant or castling or pawn promotion. So we will be implementing those later on. So there is quite a bit of code being added here. So you might want to pause the video and work through the logic if you want to. So yeah, that should work properly. Now we can start the dev server with npm run dev and we can test out how the behavior is. So npm run dev, and we head over to the browser and we refresh. So it's first White's turn, and you'll notice that we can't make any crazy illegal moves now. So we can only make a legal move. And now it's Black's turn, so White can't move anything, and Black can't make any illegal moves. it can only make moves that are legal. Okay, so looks like everything's working. So now we can commit the code. So we clear the terminal first, and then we do the usual routine. So git status, git add, and git commit. Implement move validation logic. We haven't yet added the logic for special moves like ampersand capture and castling. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've modified the code once again, and we've added a property of has moved for each chess piece. So castling can only happen if the king and the relevant rook have both not moved, and ampersand also has requires that the target pawn should have moved 2 squares on its first turn. So there is a requirement of has moved for the pawn as well. So we've added that property to the chess pieces. And then we've implemented the logic where we set the target for ampersand if there is a relevant target. And here is the capturing logic for the pawn. So there's the normal capture and the ampersand capture. And now for the while moving the king, we've added logic for castling. So there is the king side castle and the queen side castle. So the logic for both of them has been implemented here. In the click handler, we will want to remove the target of the ampersand capture, and also while castling we will want to move the associated rook. So the logic for that is implemented here. So yeah, that's as far as the ampersand capture and castling goes. So once again, quite a bit of code has been added, so you might want to pause and sort of look through the code. So now we can commit this change. So again, git add and git commit. Implement logic for ampersand and castling. We can move the types and interfaces to a different file. So to do that, we should create a file inside of src called types.ts, and in this file we will be adding all of these types: the row labels, column label, the props, the board, the chess piece, and the initial board. And we will then remove those types from the chessboard. So that has made the component a bit smaller. So it's going to be easier to read. Yeah, and we are importing the interfaces and the types from types.ts. Okay, now we can commit this change. Of course, you're going to want to test before you commit this, but I've already tested it, and there's nothing, there's no new user interface features added, so I'm just committing it. So git commit move types and interfaces to src types.ts. The chessboard component is it is a bit too large. It has 312 lines. So we might want to move some of the chess rules to a different component or to a different utility file. So to do that, let's create a directory in src and call it utils. And inside of utils, we will create a file called chessrules.ts. Okay, now inside this chess rules, we will move all of the chess game logic, like the logic to validate the moves of the different pieces. We will move that into chess rules, and we will move it out of the chessboard component. So chessboard will now look like this. It's considerably shorter with only 164 lines, and all of the validation for the different moves has been shifted to the chess rules component. So this is the chessboard, and these are the chess rules. So there's no new code here, but some of the old logic is being moved to a different file. So now let's commit this change. So git status, okay, git add, and then git commit. So move chess rules to utils chess rules. Yeah, this looks good. Right. We will need to sync some of the state that's in game info with the state in chessboard. So first, let's make the player turn in game info work properly. So first, we're going to move the current player state into app.tsx. So here we've moved current player into the app component. So we're also going to have to modify game info in chessboard. So let's do that. In chessboard.tsx, we are passing the current player as a prop from app.tsx, and we are passing a set current player function back to app.tsx. So basically we set the player inside of chessboard, and the appropriate setter is called from inside of app.tsx. And now we need to modify game info. Okay, so that will look like this. So game info is also taking the current player in as a prop from app.tsx, and we are using that here. Also, we are going to want to modify the types. So here we are using set current player and set current player as properties in chessboard props. So we're using this type over in chessboard.tsx. So with this change, we should be able to see that the game info UI is in sync with the chessboard for the current player turn. Now, if we start the dev server with npm run dev, and if we head over to the browser and refresh, now you can see that the player turn is white right now, and if we make a move, we will see that the player turn is now black. We move a black piece and the player turn is now white. So the chessboard is in sync with the game info for player turn. Right. So now let's go back and commit the change. So git status, git add, and git commit. Sync player turn in game info with chessboard. We haven't yet added logic for detecting checks and checkmates, so let's go ahead and do that. So first off, we are going to update the types. So we've added a game status property to the chessboard props, and you're exporting that. So the game status tells you whether the game is in progress, or whether one side has a check or a checkmate or stalemate. So let's save this, and we are going to implement the rules for detecting a check or a checkmate. And we will do that in chessrules.ts. So we have a bunch of helper functions to check whether the square is under attack, to detect if the king is in check, to detect whether a move that is about to be made will put the king in check. And all of those are being used in is valid move. So there's quite a bit of code here. Yeah, so we are using all of that, and we also have a function to detect if a checkmate has happened. So this is the logic for all of that. And next, we will be using these functions in the different components. So let's go to app.tsx and just a sec. Yeah. Now in app.tsx, we will be using the game status. We'll be passing it as a prop into chessboard and game info. And we are setting it as a state variable in app.tsx. So we will also have to update game info and chessboard. So to do that, let's first go into game info. And the change gets implemented here. So we're using game status. It will show the indication in the game info component. And in chessboard, we will be making a couple of changes. We will not allow moves that will put the player in check. So we're going to need to detect potential checks and checkmates for that. And yeah, we are setting the game status and we are importing all of the new methods that we just created. So I tested it out already and it works. So if you are going to be typing this out, you'll want to test it in the browser. But I've done that, so I won't go to the browser right now. So let's commit this change. Git status. So there are 5 files that have been changed. So git add and git commit. Implement logic to detect, check, and checkmate. We haven't yet added logic to detect if the player is in a stalemate. So let's do that. First off, we are going to want to add the logic to detect stalemates to chess rules. So we've added a function at the end called isStalemate. it checks if the king is not in check and if there are no valid moves left. So that is what will cause a stalemate. So the chess rule, and then we are going to use that in the chess board. So in chessboard.csx, specifically in the section where we are looking if the opponent is in check, we will add the is stalemate condition. So that would set the status to stalemate, and this new status will be reflected in the game info component. Also, we've imported the is stalemate function. So now we can commit this change. So yeah, git commit -m add logic to detect stalemate. We have not added logic for pawn promotion yet, so let's do that. So firstly, we are going to change types.ts. So we have added a promotion piece type at the top. So this is to decide what the pawn will be promoted to. So that's a simple change. And we will also modify the chessboard component. And this will use the type that we created previously, and it will also have a promotion move state and a handler to handle promotions. And we will also add a modal window to select what the pawn will be promoted to. Yeah, that's it. And then we will also want to add CSS, the styling for the pawn promotion modal. And that will look like so. So there are a couple of styles for the buttons, the promotion options, and stuff like that. And yeah, we've also made it positioned relatively. The container is positioned relatively, and the modal is positioned absolutely relative to the container. So you could start a dev server and test this out, but I've already done so. Also, we will be doing a playthrough of the game at the end. So, or maybe after a couple more changes, once the whole app has become more stable. So for now, we'll just commit the change because it's been tested. So git status, git add git commit. Implement pawn promotion logic. We will now want to add a button to game info to start the game, and we will also want to prevent movement of any pieces on the chessboard until the game has started. So first, let's update chessboard. So chessboard now has a game started prop, which we are passing in from app.tsx. So we also want to update game info like so. So game info, we've also added a bit of styling changes, which you'll see later. So basically the game info now has a start game button. So on clicking that, the on start game prop is called, which we are passing in as a prop from app.tsx. So now we will update the CSS, and game info.css will look like this. So there is a bit of styling added towards the end here. And yeah, you might want to pause the video here and go through the styles. There is quite a bit of change here. And now we will update app.tsx. So we have a handle start game, and inside the game info we are passing in the handle start game, and we have a game started property here, which we are setting as a state variable. Now we will also want to update some of the CSS in app.css. So this is basically to make the dark or light mode button look good. And now we will update the types, which will be like so. Okay. Now this should work. Now we have our server running, the dev server. So if we head over to the browser, we will see that we have a start game button in game info. And until the game has started, we can't really move any of the pieces. So that's good. So when we start the game, we see that the turn is now white's turn. So we can start moving pieces. And you'll also see that we have checkmate detection. So it's all working. Once checkmate is done, we can't move any of the pieces. So yeah, looks good. But we will also want to modify the time elapsed to be in sync with the game, and we will want to add a new game button into the actions div here. Okay, so before we go there, let's go back to our terminal and commit this change. So git status, git add, git commit, add start game button to game info. We need a button to reset the board when the game is over, and we also want to update the time elapsed as the game is progressing. So to make those changes, we will have to make changes in 4 files. So let's start by updating chessboard. So here at the top, we will add a use effect to detect when the game is reset. So game started will be passed in from chessboard from the app.tsx, and that will tell us when the a new game has started. So we're using an effect to detect that, and we will also have to make changes inside of game info. So here we will again use a use effect, and we will have a timer, an interval to sort of keep ticking while the game is in progress, and we will detect that and set that here. And this is some formatting for the time. And this is the reset board button, which will show when the game has ended with either a checkmate or a stalemate. So now we go to app.tsx. So we've updated the new props here. We are passing in reset functions and the key to reset component. So we have a reset handler, and we also have a game key. We use that to force reset the chessboard. Finally, we will update the types. So over in types.ts, we will add an onReset game property to the chessboard props. So now we should be able to see that the timer is running while the game is going on. And also we will be able to see a reset board button once the game is ended. So we will test that out in the browser later on. Right now, let's commit the change. So git status, git add, and git commit. Add reset board button on game end, and update time elapsed as game progresses. Okay. We have not yet added the logic to display the captured pieces in game info, so we're going to work on that now. We will modify chessboard.tsx like so. We will pass in the captured pieces and set captured pieces as props from app.tsx. So we will see if any piece has been captured during the game, and if it has, we will set it with set captured pieces. Yeah, we will do the same for special captures and for regular captures. That is the change in chessboard.tsx. We will also want to update game info.tsx. So here we will be passing in captured pieces as a prop again from app.tsx, and we will be counting the pieces by type, that is what they are, like rook or pawn or queen or whatever, and we will also be categorizing them by color, and we will display the captured pieces like so in a span with the captured piece class. And we will render the captured pieces separately for white and for black. So that's the change in game info. And now we will also want to add some CSS for gameinfo.css, which will look like so. So these are the styles. So basically we will style the symbol to have the appropriate color of the piece, you know, black or white, and some margins, paddings, colors and stuff like that. It's just regular CSS. And then we will want to update app.tsx to handle state management for the captured pieces. So we're seeing that we have a captured pieces type that we're importing, and we are setting the state here, and we are passing the state down to the chessboard and game info, and we are handling that inside of handle reset game and handle start game. Okay, we'll save that. And now we will also want to update the types, so that will go here. And in types, we have added an interface called captured pieces, which we have made part of the chessboard props, and we then export that. So we use it all across our app. So this will make the captured pieces display properly in game info. Let's add and commit that for now. I've tested it, but we can see it once after we've added the code for the move history as well, which we'll be doing shortly. So git status, git add, and git commit. This will be add captured pieces display in game info. Okay. The move history in game info is currently not in sync with the game state, so let's get that working. So first we will want to change types.ts. We have added types for move history. So we have a type of move, a type of move history, and those have been added to chessboard props as well. So yeah, that is types.ts. And then we will be adding a file called chess notation to utils. So here's utils, and here we create a new file called chess notation.ts. Okay, and in this file we will be adding this code. So we have code to like get the square, get the piece, and then generate the notation for that. It even includes notation for castles and everything that you need in chess. So yeah, this is the code for generating a chess notation for the move. And then we will be also modifying app.tsx. So here we are importing move history from types, and we are again handling the state management for the move history in app. So we will set the move history when we start the game, we reset the game. So in both cases, the move history will be set to an empty array. And we will also be passing the move history into chessboard and game info. So next, we will be modifying the two components. So chessboard. In chessboard, we will again import move notation. We will get the move history and set move history as props from app.tsx. And we will be using that here, recording the move, setting the move history. We are doing that on handling promotions and also inside of handle square click. When we make a move, when we click on a square to make the move. So yeah, the file for that, the whole file looks like so. These are the changes. You can pause the video in between, or you can go onto GitHub and find the relevant commit. So next we will be updating game info. So that will look like so. So here once again, move history, we're importing that, we're importing the type, we're getting the move history as prop from the parent, and we are formatting the move history for display in chess notation. And we are displaying the formatted move history in the move history section of game info. So yeah, those are the changes that we'll make for that. And now let's commit that first, and then go and look in the browser at how all the changes that we've made in the past 3 or so commits, we will see how they look. Okay, so first we commit the change. Git status, git add, and git commit. So sync move history in game info with game state. Okay. Now let us sort of play a simple game to demonstrate all the changes that we've made in the past few commits and to see if they look and function as we expect them to. So first, in the terminal, we will start the dev server with npm run dev. Okay, so now we head over to the browser, and you will notice that there's the start game button, and until the game starts we can't move any piece. So we start the game, and now you can see that the time elapsed is running, and the captured pieces, well, there are no captured pieces, so it shows none for now, and there is no move history. So let's make a few moves. So we move the pawn first. Okay, now it's black's turn. We move this one, and then another move. You'll see that the history is being updated here, and then we will try capturing, and you'll notice that one of white's pawns has been captured, and that is being shown here. So now it's white's turn, so we will move the queen over to h5. So you'll see that. And now we will move black's pawn by 1 square. And now we move the bishop by 1 square in front of the king to e2. And now it's black's turn, so we'll get the pawn to capture the queen. So once again, you see that the captured pieces are being shown here. Now it's white's turn. So if the bishop captures the pawn, we'll see that black has been checkmated. So black can't do anything now because it's in checkmate. The game is over. So now we show the reset board button, and we have the move history up till here, and the captured pieces are over here. And you'll see that the time elapsed has stopped because the game is over. It's checkmate. Also, you can change it to dark mode, or sorry, light mode. So you can toggle between the modes, and you will see that the display of the pieces is not unintuitive. So it all looks and works as we expect it to. So yeah, that looks good. Now we will have to work on the actions. So also, if we reset the board, you will see that the pieces have all been moved to their original state, and the whole game state has been reset. So now there is no game state, and you're allowed to do everything again. So now we want to work on implementing the functionality for offer, draw, and resign. The chessboard component is a bit too large. Right now it has around 350 lines. So we are going to want to move some of the functionality out of it. So first, we will create new files. First, we will go to utils and create a file called move handlers.ts. These are the functions that were previously inside of handle square click in chessboard. We'll move them to move handlers. Next, we will create a file called game state.ts in utils. We'll move the game state to this file, and we will also create a component called promotion modal. This is for the pawn promotion modal. Okay, now the reduced chessboard will look like this. It has around 240 lines, so 100 lines have been reduced more or less. So we're using the promotion modal. So there are a couple of changes. So we'll be moving handle, regular move, promotion move, and create move records for the move history into the move handlers file. And we'll be moving the get game status after move and get next player into game state, and the modal will be moved into a new component. So I've prepared the code for that. So move handlers will have all of the move handlers, and it will look like so. So we've just moved some of the code out of chessboard into this. So there's fundamentally new feature being added. Okay, this is move handlers, and next we will get the game state, and it will look like so. So there's just the game status, whether it's in progress, checkmate, or stalemate. There's some utility functions. We've moved them into game state. And then the modal. So the promotion modal will look like so. So just some TSX and some logic for promoting the pawn. So we will commit this change. Okay. And git commit. Refactor move handlers, game state, and promotion modal out of chessboard.tsx. We haven't yet added the functionality for resigning, so let's do that now. First, we'll be updating game info. So in gameinfo.tsx, we will be building a confirmation modal, which we haven't built yet, but we will soon. And we will be passing in on resign from app.tsx. So basically, we are going to be handling management of the resignation state in app.tsx, and we will be sending the function to game info and calling it in game info when we click on the button. So on clicking the button, we'll be showing a modal, a resign modal, and you'll be handling the clicks like so. And then, yeah, this is where we have the TSX for the modal, which we haven't built yet, but will. And also we will want to show the status of the game, as in who resigned and who has won. And this is the button where the handle resign click is sort of bound to. So that is as far as gameinfo.tsx goes. And we will also want to handle the state inside app.tsx. So here we are passing in handle resign as a value of the onResign prop. And also, yeah, we are defining resigned player as a state inside app.tsx. Now, inside of components, we will want to create a component called confirmation modal. So this is components, and we have confirmation modal.tsx. Yeah. So this is the modal that will open when we click on resign. So there's a click handler, and there are some props that we are passing in from game info. And finally, we will also want to add some styles for the confirmation modal, which we will be adding in confirmation modal.css. So we will also be using the dark and light mode theme awareness. So the modal is aware of what the theme is, so the colors won't conflict with that. Now let's commit the change. So git status, git add, and git commit. So add resign functionality to game info.tsx. Also add confirmation modal. Okay. We haven't yet implemented the offer draw function, so let's do that now. First, we will modify app.tsx like so. So we have draw offered by and set draw offered by. One is a state and the other is a set state function. So we have a handler for that, and right now we will set the game status as stalemate by default. When we add multiplayer functionality, we will add a timeout and a modal on the side of the recipient, but for that we'll have to make some more changes. So we are also passing in the handle offer draw to game info. Now we will have to modify game info also to work with offer draw. So in gameinfo.tsx, we will firstly add a prop called onOfferDraw, and we will destructure it. We will also have a show draw offer modal. We will use a modal for that, like how we did for resign. And we will use it in use effect conditional on whether the game started is true or not, on whether it changed or not. And we also have handlers for the modal buttons. cancel, confirm, and click. So this is all fairly straightforward, and now we'll use another instance of confirmation module, like how we did with resign confirmation module. So yeah, that's about it. We also have the offer draw button. The handle draw offer click is bound to the button as in click handler. So that should work. Now we commit the change. So git status, git add, and then git commit. Implement offer draw functionality bare bones version. Yeah, this sounds good. Let's commit. While starting a game, we want to give the player an option to choose the mode, that is, whether it's player versus player or player versus bot. So we're going to need to implement the bot AI for that, and a few UI changes as well. So let's do that now. So firstly, we will update app.tsx. Here we have a state for game mode and player color. So if the player is playing against a bot, they will have to choose a color, whether black or white. And we will include the mode and color in handle start game and in other places as well. And we will also pass the game mode as a prop to chessboard and make changes in game info. So this is app.tsx. Now we will also need to update the types. That will look like this. So we've basically added a game mode and player color to the chessboard props. Next, we will update the game info component. So inside the game info component, we will again destructure the game mode and player color from the props, and we will be using, so there is a handle game start game with mode. This is to set the mode while starting the game. So it's just regular TypeScript and React. And here we have the UI to select the game mode while starting a new game. So there's this UI code along with some click handlers. And this is when the game has started. We will want to show the relevant information in the in the current game state. So this is to do that. And there are some other changes as well, like for example how resign works with game mode. So yeah, this is game info. And then we will also want to update the chessboard component, which will be like so. So yeah, we are importing a make-bot-move function from utils AI, which we haven't written yet, but will. So we will be handling bot moves in a use effect, which, okay, yeah, so, right. So basically, the bot will make a move every turn, and there are some things like, for example, it waits for 500 milliseconds, and yeah, so we have a handler for the bot move. We will check whether the move is valid or not before implementing it, and we will handle the move like we do for a regular player. Also, we'll be recording the move to display it in the move history. So we'll update the state, update game status, and do all of that, similar to how we do for the player versus player mode. Also handle square click. Yeah, so those are the changes in chessboard. Now, inside of utils, we will be creating a new file. This is utils, and in here we'll be creating botai.ts. So here, this is the logic for the bot to make a move. Right now, it just calculates the list of all possible moves, and it picks one move randomly. Of course, we want it to be more intelligent than this, and we will make that change later on. So in chessboard, this has to be, yeah, has to be // utils bot AI. Yeah, it's going to work now. Also, we will have to make changes to the gameinfo.css to accommodate all of the UI changes we've just made in relation to the player mode. This is the gameinfo.css. There is quite a bit of change here, so you might want to pause the video and work through the changes and convince yourself that you properly grasp what's going on here. So yeah, there's this, and then now we will go to the browser and test it out. So the dev server is already running in this terminal. Now we will head over to the browser and we will refresh. So you can see that we have a PvP and a player versus bots mode. The PvP mode is the one that we had been doing until now. So it's just the regular thing. So we've already seen this. We've been building it so far. So let's resign and reset the board. Now let's experiment with player versus bot. And we can choose our color. So if we choose white and start a game, you'll see that everything is the same except the opponent is a bot. So now if we make a move, let's say if we move this pawn 1 square up to f3, it just makes a random move, so it's not very intelligent. It just keeps moving. It's not rational, it just picks one randomly. But it does make a move. So let's just resign for now. We will need to make this bot more intelligent. So we reset the board. Yeah, everything looks good. So we can go ahead and commit the change. So let's go back to our bash terminal and we do git status. Okay, there's quite a bit of change. Git add and git commit. Add PvP and PvB modes to the game. Add basic bot AI. Okay, so that was quite a bit of change. Now we will have to make the bot more intelligent. Now we will be working on integrating Stockfish, which is the most used AI bot for chess. So we'll be integrating Stockfish with our application. So first let's see if there's any change that we haven't committed yet. There's nothing. So now let's create a new branch. So git switch -c feature / Stockfish integration. Okay. So now we're in a new branch and we should be able to experiment with our new feature and make multiple commits without breaking the main branch. So yeah. First we will install Stockfish with npm install stockfish.js. Run this command in the root of your project. And that should install Stockfish. And it has. So package.json has now been updated with Stockfish. Let's now commit this. And this will be the first commit in our branch. So git status and git add and git commit. Install Stockfish. Now, if we look at chessboard.tsx, we see that it has become a bit too large with 373 lines. So we will want to move some of the functionality from handle bot move over to utils move handlers.ts. We'll put it here. So to make that change, first we will update the types and we will change that like so. So we have moved the export interface, the move result and the bot move result interfaces out of move handlers. So move handlers will now look like this. So move handlers now has the functionality for handling the bot move, which was previously in chessboard.tsx. And also we are importing the types that we just defined from types.ts. And finally, we will want to use the move handlers in chessboard. So chessboard will now be like this. So you can see that the number of lines has reduced a lot by around 60. And if we keep going up, we see that here we just have a handle bot move in component function, which just does the state update and doesn't do the logic. All of that is handled in move handlers. And then we import it from util/move handlers. So let's commit this change. And git add git commit move handle bot move to move handlers.ts. Okay, now that we've npm installed stockfish.js, we need to copy it into public. So first, go to node modules and you'll be able to find stockfish.js. So there, in that directory, you'll be able to find a JavaScript file called stockfish.js. Copy that file and paste it into public. So the path should be public/stockfish.js. I've already done that. So now we will have to create a utility, a Stockfish web worker. So inside of utils, create a new file called stockfish service.ts and paste this in. So what we're doing here is we are initializing a web worker for Stockfish. That's the AI. So you can do this in a couple of ways. You could use WebAssembly or other things, but the method that is recommended on the Stockfish documentation for browsers is to use a web worker. So this is Stockfish will be loaded in a separate thread and you'll send messages to it from a different thread, and here you'll handle the message. And this is asynchronous, so we're using a promise for that. Also, this is the method to get the best move, and before getting the move, we will need to convert the board to a specific kind of notation that Stockfish can understand. So we'll be writing a utility function for that. So this is the Stockfish web worker, and then again in utils, let's create a method. Let's create a file called chessutils.ts. So here we have a function to convert the board to fen notation. That's the notation Stockfish uses. So this is and then we have a method to get a random move. in case Stockfish has not been initialized. So this was the initial approach for the basic bots that we were using previously. So we now have that as a fallback. And now we will update chessboard. So over in chessboard.tsx, we will import the Stockfish service and the random move, and we will initialize it in a use effect. And yeah, we have a method to analyze the position. So we can analyze the position after each move, and we will be calling that in the handle bot moves use effect. So there is a delay of half a second to make the moves more natural, and we are calling Stockfish for the bot move. This will only happen in player versus bot mode. So now we are calling analyze position for different cases, like after each move we can analyze the position. To do that, we'll have to make a call to the service. And finally, we will update bot AI.ts, which will be like so. And here we are using the Stockfish service and the get random move. So we have a method called get Stockfish move. This will convert the coordinates using the method that we defined we have here. So we will convert the UCI move to chess coordinates. This is the thing that comes from Stockfish, and this is the coordinate notation, the chess notation that we will need to use in our game. So there's a method for that. And yeah, the best move will be shown. It will be played by the bot. In the service, we will import from chessutils, and we will save. Now we can go to the browser and test the bot. So the dev server should be running. So first make sure that you have the dev server running somewhere. So let's do an npm run dev, and then head over to the browser and reload. So the new change, the code has been loaded from the development server. So go to player versus bot, choose your color as white, and start the game. So now we can make moves, and the bots will be intelligent. So let's test it out. Move the pawn there. Okay. And now if we move the pawn from g2 to g4, it should be able to move the queen from d8 to h4 and checkmate us. So let's see if it can do that. So yeah, it did find the move. It moved the queen and we are in checkmate. So yeah, Stockfish is working fine. Now we can reset the board. We can play as black also, and we can go to player versus player, and here there will be no bot, so we will have to make the moves ourselves. So yeah, we can keep making moves. So you get the idea. the bot is now working. Now let's go back to our code. Let's open a new terminal. Yeah. Now let's commit the changes. So git status, git add, and git commit. So integrate Stockfish for PVB mode. We can now merge our Stockfish integration branch back into the main branch. So get status, and now we first check out to main. So get checkout main. Now we do a git merge. So git merge feature slash stockfish integration. So it's been merged now into main. So now if we do git branch, we see that we are in main, and git log will show that all of the code has been merged into the main branch. So this is the latest commit. So again, git status, okay, nothing here. Git branch, you'll see that Stockfish integration branch is still there. So now that we've merged it back, we can delete the branch. So to do that, we type in git branch -d feature Stockfish integration. Okay, so the branch is gone. Now git branch gives us just the main branch, and the latest commit is, okay, Stockfish has been integrated. Now if we play against the bot and we put the bot's king in check, we see that the game freezes. So that's a bug that we need to fix. Also, we might want to change the UI of the game info a bit. So let's make those changes now. So firstly, in chessboard.tsx, we make a small change. So over here in the user effect for handling bot moves, we will check whether the game status is in progress or in check, and in both cases the control flow will go into this if statement, so it won't be blocked on check. That's one thing. Then inside of game info, we will change the UI a little, quite a bit actually. So there's quite a bit of CSS and TSX in here. So yeah, we will be changing the appearance of the UI. So basically most of the styling is in CSS. There's not much in markup, but even so, we are replacing some of the divs with grids. So the move history will be shown as a grid, the game info container will be a grid, and there are some other aesthetic changes. So you might want to pause the video and walk through the markup to convince yourself that you sort of grasp what's going on and that you have the right code. So over in gameinfo.css, this is what it will look like. So once again, there's quite a bit of CSS changes here. So we're using a card radius variable. There's some transition variable, and there's just quite a bit of things like paddings and box shadows and that sort of thing. So there's nothing much to explain here. So this is all the CSS. We are making it look more aesthetically pleasing and more polished. So also there's app.css, because we want to make game info be in sync with the light and dark mode. Also, there's a double scroll bar that we need to remove. So these are the changes. We will commit this first, and then we will head over to the browser and see what it looks like. So git status, git add, and git commit. Fix bot king in check freeze issue, and also redesign game info UI with grids, one less scroll bar, more aesthetic. Yeah. Now, if we head over to the browser and refresh, we see that the UI is much better. So there's light mode and dark mode. Yeah, much better. So you have all these icons for players, player, and bot. So you can also, even the choose color layout is different. So if we start the game, we see that everything is much better than it was before. So now let's play a simple game against the bot, against Stockfish. So yeah, let's see what it does. It made a move, and we make another move, and it's checkmate. So yeah, the bot is pretty smart, and also everything seems fine, much better than before. So yeah, let's go back. You will notice that we have renamed our project from chess game to hobby chess, since that is what we are calling it now. So you want to do that, and also copy this favicon.icl file into the public directory. You can find it on the GitHub repo for the project. Next, we will make a couple of changes related to the font and the favicon. So firstly, in index.html, you will want to add these links for the Marcellus font. So this is the Marcellus font. That's the one that we'll be using throughout our application. Also, you'll want to change the favicon to favicon.ico, which is taken from public, the public directory. Next, head over to package.json, which is here. And in here, we will change the name of the project to hobby-chess. After that, go to gameinfo.tsx. So here we will add an image before the title. It's going to look better than it did before. So that's one change here. And then go to app.css. Here we will be, okay, where's that change? Right, here in the root, for the root element, we will be adding a font family of Marcellus, which we added in index.html. Now run npm install, because the package.json changed, so you'll need to regenerate the package lock. So run npm install. Okay, now the package lock is updated. Now if we start the dev server with npm run dev and head over to the browser and refresh, you'll see that the favicon has been added, the title has been changed, the image has been added here too, and also the font is different. It looks a bit cleaner now, so that's an improvement. So now we can commit this change. So go back to the code editor terminal and git status. So then git add git commit add favicon change title add Marcellus font. Yeah, so clear. Now we will push the code onto GitHub. So head over to your browser and open GitHub. So here you will need to create a new repository. So go to new and give it the same name as what you have in your local repo. So that will be hobby-chess. And then don't add a readme, this is important. Don't add any files. Just create a basic description if you want to, like a chess game built with React and TypeScript. Okay, that's good enough. So yeah, now create the repository. So you'll see that it gives you instructions to push an existing repo from the command line. So copy this and then head over to the terminal. So here, check what branch you have. So git branch. You'll see that there's only the main branch right now. So now you want to add the origin. Okay. Next, you run git push, which will be like so. Now you're going to want to allow VS Code to sign into GitHub. So allow. So it's going to ask for authorization. So we'll go ahead and do that. So you'll see that it has been pushed to GitHub. And now if you head over to the repo again and refresh, you will see that the code has been added. And yeah, you can look at all the commits that have been made on the different files that have changed in the most recent commit. And a list of all the commits since the start of the project. Now you're going to want to deploy the app onto Vercel and make it live. So make sure you have an account on Vercel and sign in using your GitHub account. Okay. Now here, install the GitHub application on the selected repos. So select the hobby-chess project and install. Now it will allow you to import the hobby-chess project. So import that. And it will detect that it's a wheat project. So you won't have to set up any of the build configuration. It's all detected automatically. There are no environment variables, everything's default. So let's just click deploy. This will take some time. And it looks like the app has been deployed. So let's head over to the dashboard. And we can see that if we go to this URL, hobby-chess.vercel.app, we will be able to play the game. So let's try it. This is live, it is not on our dev server. So we started the game, it's working. The bot made a move. And yeah, we lost. So it looks like the app is live now. Folks. So with this, we have reached the end of the project, and with that, the end of the video. So if you've been following all the steps that we've gone through in the video, you will have your own chess application live on Vercel. So if you've watched the video thus far and if you've implemented everything, then congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back and give a shout out to us on social media. Also, if you want us to add more features to this, or if you want us to build a different application or a game or anything else, tell us in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. So till next time, see ya.